Hi guys, this is part 2 of this HTTP services. I have explained how to call a GET API call in my previous video. Now we will see whatever the response you got from the API call, that how to show in the UI. Let me go to the Visual Studio Code, and here I'll just do some sample set of things. Let me remove all the unwanted code and save this. Now what I want to do is, I'm getting some list of content. I want to show that list of content in my UI. So let me go into HTML and just create our required stuff. So let me remove this and create a table. Inside this table I want to create a T head, and inside this T head I want to create a TR, that is table row, and this table row contains TH, which is heading, and what the values I want to show here is, I want to show ID and title and completed. So let me use something like an ID and copy this, put it over here, and let me go into title, and then I want to show something like completed status, and save this. Now I have created a table. Let me create a body tag, that is T body, and inside this T body let me create a TR tag, and inside this TR tag I'll use table data, and the data let me use a random data for now, 1 2 3, and let me copy this TD and put it over here, let me use something like title and something like this, title sample, and completed status is true or false, that is completed or incompleted, just a random text. Save this and go to the browser, go here, you can see some random content is shown on the UI. Now I'll just go into our CSS and I'll write something like table, comma, tr, comma, td, comma, th with border 1 pixel solid black. So I'm creating a border for this. Let me save this. Now you got a complete table. Here, this table I want to fill with the data whatever we are getting from here. That means you have around 200 records. I want to show that 200 records over this table. How to use that? So let me go into our app.component.html, and here I can use something like star ng for, because I want to loop this tr. This row I want to loop for each and every record. So now this record we can use by using let our user of users, something like this, or to make it very simple, to do of to do's, and this to do's is something which we have to create as a variable. So let me create a to do's variable and let me make it as empty array by default. Now once you get the result, I'll assign to this to do's is equal to the result whatever we are getting over here. Now once I receive the result, that to do's will get updated, and that updated value will be looping over here. So let me use this to do with an interpolation. Already I have discussed about interpolation ngFor in my previous videos in the starting of this series. Please check there so that you will understand in a better fashion. If you don't find in the series, just go to the Angular tutorial playlist, there you can find it. So let me go into to do dot, I just want to show an ID. The ID, that the property whatever we are receiving, the property is an ID over here. And let me use the same thing for title. So let me go here and do interpolation with to do dot title whatever we have, and let me clear this off. Now I want to show something like to do dot completed status. Save this. Now let me go to the Angular tutorial. Now we got some problem. ID does not exist on type any, never. So actually speaking, here we have no type, that's why I'm using any array symbol, and this one could be any array symbol, and save this, or just save this and go here. You got all the values. Now you are able to see whole 200 records for us. Here you can see 200 records has been triggered with particular UI. Let me make it a slow network. Let me go into slow 3G and go here. Let me reload this. If you see here, you didn't got the data. It took some time to showcase all this data. By the time it shows on the UI, you have to show some set of loading indicator. That loading indicator we have to show whenever the data is still in pending state. So let me go back And now here I will create something called as loading indicator, and that loading indicator is a boolean value. Let me use it as a false boolean value, and this loading I can use inside this like by using this dot loading is equal to true, and once I receive the data I can use this dot loading is equal to false. So now we got a loading indicator as well. Once the loading indicator is on, I don't want to show the table. Once my loading indicator is done, I want to show the table. So let me copy this loading indicator and just close this. Let me go into the app.component.html. Here we are using a conditional basis, hence I recommend to use ng container, and inside this ng container I'll use star ng if is equal to, I'll use loading. If this is in loading state, then I want to show a paragraph, and that is nothing but loading dot dot dot. And once this loading is completed, let me copy this ngIf and put it over here for the table, and if the loading is false, then I want to show this table. Let me save this, go here and just reload. Now it will take some time and you can see a loading over here. Once the API is success, then you can see the data over here. So this is simply superb. Now we can do one more thing over here. The thing is, if the table does not contain any values, then you have to show some empty content or no records found. So that case can be handled over here by using this to-dos. So what I can do is, if it is not loading, our condition is something like ng-container and hit enter. So I can use a paragraph, and inside this paragraph I can say no records found, and when it has to be shown, when my loading should not exist. So let me use not loading, and when my to-dos dot length equal to 0, then I have to show no records found. And when I have to show this data, this not loading, and when my to-dos dot length is greater than 0, then I have to show this table. That is how the logic behind the scene. So let me go here, hit enter and hit enter just for our understanding. Let me go back, and now it's loading. So now you got a loading indicator, then it called the to-dos, you got the response, and you are showing the data. For example, to handle our no records found, what I am doing is, even I get the result, I am making it as empty array. I am just treating it as an empty array so that you can see that output. Let me go here. Now you will see a loading indicator over here, and once the loading indicator is done, you will see no records found. So that's how you can handle no records as well. Now let me quit this. Here I can handle one more thing, something like you have an error block. Whenever there is an error, then you can handle over here. So let me use something like alert of something went wrong. So I am just using something went wrong. Here what I'll do is I'll just remove this S so that it will be 404. That means not found. It will go into an error block. Instead of subscription block, it will go into error block. So this second callback function will point into your error block, and when there is a failure in this HTTP service, then it will go into your error block. Let me go here, and you can see something went wrong, it failed. Let me clean this off and reload, and let me remove this into no throttling, and you can see something went wrong, and let me hit enter, and you can see the loading is still continuing. That means what I want to do is, either you can handle this false condition in the success call or in the error call. So now if you see here, we got something went wrong, and in the background the loading is still exist. So now what I can do is I can manage this by using some set of data over here. That is nothing but error. Here I am handling at a component level. If you want to handle at a global level, you can use this error block at a global level, and you can showcase the UI. That we'll discuss in the upcoming videos as well. But for now I am using at a component level, so I am creating an error over here. So let me go here and create a string, and this is empty by default. Now whenever there is something wrong, I want to stop the loading indicator. First case, I want to stop the loading indicator, and the loading indicator is false, and this dot error block. Let me check the error block here. So this error block, I want to show something went wrong. Let me copy this and put it over here. I want to show in the UI. Let me remove this, save this. and this error I can handle in my HTML. This loading, first case is there should be no loading and length should not be equal to 0, then only we have to show this. And there is one more condition, something like I can use something like an error. If error exists or not exist, then we have to show the table. And here also the same condition, error should not exist, then you have to show no records found. Now the third case is ng-container. Here the loading should stop, first case, and you have to check whether that error exists or not. And if error exists, then you have to show that error message. So let me go here and write error, save this. Now when there is any failure, you will be seeing this error message. Let me go here, something went wrong. Let me reload. You see the loading indicator and then it went to something went wrong. So for seeing the loading indicator, let me make it as slow 3G, clear this off, reload. Now you can see a loading indicator and then it went to an API call and the API call failed. You can see something went wrong. So that is how you can handle a error in your HTTP services. So this is how all the cases you can handle by using different variables in your component level. And to summarize this, we have registered HTTP module in our modules, and then we have injected a service inside our constructor by using HTTP service, and then we have created all our loading indicator scenarios, as well as we got the data and showcased in the UI. If you don't get the data, all the scenarios we have covered in our HTTP services. And one more thing you need to remember is here we are using HTTP client as a normal constructor injection process, but in the latest Angular versions we can use inject method, even that helps us. So let me cut this and put it over here. Instead of using a private, I can use HTTP services, and let me use HTTP client is equal to inject method, and this inject method helps us to inject our client service, and save this. Even in this way also we can use. Let me go here, and now we are in the failure mode, so that's why the network is giving us something went wrong. So let me go here, let me make it as to do's and save this, go here and clear this off. Let's reload. This is in a slow mode, so let me make it as fast 3G. You got the data, and let me make it as slow 3G and reload. You'll be getting a loading indicator first, and then you will be getting the data. So a loading indicator and the data. So here we saw injecting our service not only in the constructor level, but also we can use it as a variable. Here the problem what I observe in this component level is we are handling all these services at one level, but if you think in an reusable perspective, this is not reusable. It is restricted for our component level itself. But in some scenarios, these are the HTTP service calls. That means API calls. These API calls we may be using n number of times throughout our application. For example, these to-dos I am using in app component, but in the future I may be using it another place like profile or any other place. In that scenarios, this is not reusable. So that always it is recommended to use all your HTTP services at a service level. That means we have to move all these logics to the service level and return an observable, and then you have to log your consoles or whatever you want to do. You can do your operations at a component level. The service call should be handled at service level. So that one we will see in the upcoming video. Hope you like my explanation. If you like my video, like, share, subscribe to my channel for more updates. Signing off. Thank you.